Okay, everybody, take your seats, please. The Zoom audience is ready to go. And I'm not sure, do we have the Zoom audience? I'm not sure what to do with that.
Let me see if I can help you here.
So we'll start and just let me know along the way. Thanks for coming. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We have an audience around the world, and we've got 9 speakers. 5 of them are here, and 4 of them are here, and 5 of them are around the world. We're going to be talking about innovation. And the thing about innovation is it just happens. And so our thought process around innovation and what we've done with this event is present Global Chamber members around the world that are doing really extraordinary work. And hopefully we gather some of that innovation mojo. For me, I know my most innovative moments are when I'm riding my bike and watching trees and things going by. This is way better because now we're going to see people going by and they've got some really great ideas and they're changing the world. Before we talk to our first speaker, I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Garza-Walker. He's the incoming advisory board chair for Global Chamber Phoenix. Could you say a few words about innovation and what we're going to do today and anything about the chapter?
I can't hear. Yeah, the mic. I think we got to be closer. Okay. Yeah, because now I got to lean down. All right.
Short.
Yeah, it's even too short for me. So welcome, everyone. Jeffrey Garza-Walker, the new chair for this year of the Global Chamber. Very excited. I've been involved with Doug for almost the past 7 years, and the Global Chamber has been a real passion of mine. I absolutely am a Globie along with Doug. I lived in Mexico for over a year in '91 and then went to Spain for 6 months in '92 and had an amazing experience. And then I've been doing international commercial real estate over the last 7 years in Mexico primarily. But we're really here today to celebrate the Global Chamber, and we're stepping into this new year with, quite frankly, I think one of the things that's going to be very pertinent to us, which is the information and technology that's coming about. And has anybody heard about AI recently? Yeah, all hands should be up. So we're very excited to have these people together to share with us the things that are going to be coming to us. And that is something that's going to be impacting all of us. And so we really need to be in the forefront of this. And the Global Chamber is excited to be here leading the charge. So thank you for being here, and lots more to be coming in the new year.
And there's a few of you who are advisory board members here and on the Zoom call. Our meeting on Monday I'm really looking forward to, that Jeffrey and Diana White are facilitating. I'd like to now introduce our first speaker, and it's really Thunderbird, and Dean Cogram may be zooming in from Egypt, but we have the Vice Dean here. So could you say a few words of welcome, please?
Absolutely. Welcome to Thunderbird. We are so delighted to have you here in our global forum. In a minute, we will be pulling up all of our Zoom audience, as well as Dean Cogram, who will be joining us. And I just wanted to take a moment to set the stage a little bit. My name is Dr. Charla Griffey-Brown. I'm the Vice Dean of Thunderbird School of Global Management here at ASU. And I come to you also having spent time in Japan, Australia, Indonesia, India, China, different parts of Europe. And my background is in emerging technology and risk, and I work here on a number of emerging technology and innovation projects, which we're so excited about here at Thunderbird. We are at an inflection point in human history in which the importance of our collaboration is even greater and amplified, primarily because of 3 exceptional challenges, grand challenges that we face. The first, of course, is this kind of tension that we're experiencing geopolitically between globalism and nationalism. The second is our planetary health, which we all know is of ultimate importance. And then the third is this fourth industrial revolution, which is accelerating growth and the incorporation of technology in all parts of civil society, as well as in other areas of our lives, from the economic to the political to our healthcare to how we gather and collaborate. And Thunderbird is at the center of that mission and that vision of creating a future of shared sustainable prosperity around the world. And our goal is to equip leaders to create the future that we want within this space. And so we're delighted that you've come to join us here, to have these conversations, to listen around these important issues, and to bring your perspectives, because our goal here at Thunderbird is certainly to create a collaborative learning experience and a collaborative learning community across sectors, whether that's in business, whether that's in political leadership, whether that's in nonprofits, and certainly across the academy. So I think we are about to join, and I have the privilege of introducing our amazing dean, Dr. Sanjeev Kagram, who's joining us from Egypt. As you know, he is a visionary leader who has done an exceptional job of creating this school, Thunderbird School of Global Management, as recreating it as it steps into this bright future, which we know you all are a part of. And with no further ado, I am going to hand it over to Dean Kagram, who is going to provide you with even greater insight. And thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause for the incredible Vice Dean of the Thunderbird School of Global Management. Charla has been a blessing, and I hope you can hear me in the room for each and every one of us, and certainly for me. She has come to take on all that we have created and take it forward with all of our incredible team. I want to also thank Ghazal Khorshidi and Jacqueline Alonso, our incredible team in the Dean's office, everybody that works at the school, and of course our great friends and partners at the Global Chamber, Doug and Cesar and everyone across the world. The Global Chamber has been our great partner for many years, and certainly since the time I joined Thunderbird just a little under 6 years ago. And, you know, the famous motto theme, global and unstoppable, we fully embrace it at Thunderbird, and we can't be more prouder to host the Global Chamber here and there at our global headquarters. So I don't want to say too much except to say that, of course, nowhere in the world, and we're very proud of this, you get the #1 school for international trade and management, that's Thunderbird, and the #1 university for innovation, which is, of course, ASU. And this magical combination, alongside incredible partners like the Global Chambers, means that we are advancing global inclusion, innovation, and impact around the world. Our charter at ASU is about we judge ourselves by who we include, not who we exclude. And our vision at Thunderbird is very much to advance sustainable and inclusive prosperity and peace worldwide. As Charles said, we have these incredible challenges in our, contemporary time. I'm in a region which is in the midst of an incredibly travesty, terror, human suffering going on all sides. And what we at the school believe is that if we connect, we catalyze, we convene, we produce the future leaders and empower the current leaders of today for the fourth industrial revolution, for the Anthropocene, for the complicated geopolitical world that we have, that we can advance that sustainable and inclusive prosperity and peace worldwide. But today is a day to really highlight, as Doug was saying, as Charlie was saying, global innovation and global innovators. So I want to thank and honor all those that are going to be talking about the innovations and sharing the innovations that they have led and co-led here and there in Phoenix and Arizona and the United States, all around the world. We need more innovation more than ever before. That's what Thunderbird was founded on 77 years ago with our famous motto, borders frequented by trade seldom need soldiers. And we know that that's needed more than ever before. One of those innovations I want to highlight, amongst the many, or two I want to highlight, is that incredible global headquarters that you're in, the most technologically advanced in the world, but also one that brings the world together, such as this incredible group that's there right now, our partners at the Global Chamber, and many others celebrating, honoring, and taking forward global innovation at the Global Innovation Summit 2024. Another one, and as you walk up the 5 floors, you not only have the incredible technology and innovation in the building, but all the deep history and traditions and legacy of Thunderbird. And then, of course, most recently is our 100 Million Learners Initiative, the Francis and Dion Jaffe 100 Million Learners Initiative. It's a big, ambitious goal, but there are 3 billion individuals out there in the world seeking quality education, the future skill sets to be innovators, to be entrepreneurs, to be transformers, to be change agents in the world around us. 3 billion people who don't have access to that like we do, and we're so grateful to, like I once didn't have as a refugee, long ago. And so what we've tried to do with the incredible support of Francis and Dion Jaffe, our alums and the namesakes of our global headquarters, our incredible partners at ASU, our partners all around the world. That's what I've been doing on many of my trips, is to promote and build these partnerships for 100 million learners, is to reach 100 million learners, which with the innovation, global innovation, entrepreneurship, digital skill sets for the 21st century. And that's in 3 different programs, from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the pyramid, translated for our foundations program already into 22 different languages. And we built with Google the world's first ever academic translation factory and innovation of itself, an intermediate program for advanced high school undergraduates, and then an advanced program. And soon the foundations program will be translated into 40 languages and upward to 133 languages. And it's no cost to the learner, no cost to the learner. So 100% digital, self-paced. And our goal is to make sure that 70% at least are women and young women and girls all around the world. Because like myself, when we were refugees back in the camps after being expelled from Uganda, didn't have access to education. And the inspiration of my life, my mother, never finished high school. And so this 100 Million Learners Initiative is very much in honor of her and all like her who don't get the access to the incredible world-class educational learning opportunities we have at Thunderbird and ASU. So 100 Million Learners is one of our great global innovations that we want to highlight. But for us, it's as much enabling and supporting and empowering innovators like all of you in the room and all of those around the world that are going to join us in this incredible event. So thank you again, Doug and Cesar. Thank you, Charla and Ghazal and Jackie and Nicole and Chamnan and Laura Polk and Riley and so many others that made 100 Million Learners and make it possible. Our partnership with the Global Chamber has been such a transformative one. And we know for the next 73 years, as Thunderbird reaches out to 150, and we think of ourselves headed to the Thunderbird Academy of Intergalactic Leadership. That's our innovative future that we're thinking, though, that the Global Chamber is going to be with us. And soon the Global Chamber, Doug, we're going to have to rename it the Interplanetary Chamber, along with the Thunderbird School. So thank you again, everyone. Please stay safe and healthy in these complex times. We're so grateful. And congratulations to all of our global innovators and global innovations in Global Innovation Summit 2024.
City by city, planet by planet, galaxy by galaxy. And Dr. Kagram, you are in Egypt, which I think goes to the very globalness that you are and that Thunderbird School of Global Management is. How is it over there? It's a little bit late, isn't it? Or is it early?
Late, early, it doesn't make a difference, right? 24/7, global and unstoppable, Doug.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. See you
friend.
soon.
Thanks to our incredible team at Thunderbird. Thank you. Bye now.
Let's now go to that side of the world as well, to Thomas Axness. He's the founder of Health Optimizing. He is going to give us a picture of the future of global health with a focus on automation and scalability. Thomas, where are you tonight and this morning? And where are you? Bergen?
I am in Bergen, yes. We have
Wonderful.
about 20 inches of snow here today. I don't think you can see that on the screen behind me because it's a digital backdrop, but it's beautiful here now. Super cold, lots of snow.
Congratulations. Unlike the snow, you've got lots of hot things going on the innovative side. Thank you for following up with last year's conversation. What's going on in the world of health?
Well, thank you first for having me here again. Yes, there is a lot that is going on. I was thinking maybe first to give those who don't already know us in health optimizing just a very quick recap that we are on a mission to redefine the medical paradigm. The way we have been pursuing that mission for 20 years is to develop technologies for assessments and treatments and to develop a clinic model where we can utilize all the latest technologies, where we now have specialized clinics around the world with 33 state-of-the-art technologies where we can really map out health in detail, even down to the roots of the health problems, and where we have innovative technologies to address that. So this is what we have been doing intensively for more than 2 decades now, is to develop this concept. And this is going its course. We keep developing clinics around the world. But we got to the point where, first of all, AI started to become more of a possibility, and also where we saw that to really redefine the medical paradigm, we have to scale things in different ways in addition to building our clinics around the world. Because the main obstacle for building the clinics is that you need a lot of expertise and they need a lot of training. So in the clinics, we have medical doctors and psychologists and doctors of naturopathy, and they all need to be trained in our methodologies and how to use our technologies. And when we go through that process, which takes at least 6 months for each of the professionals in the clinic, going through that, we can achieve really amazing results. We can solve things that nobody else can solve. However, it really limits the scalability to have that much training involved, and also the investments in building these clinics and getting the right people on board, doing all the training, all the technologies, everything. So what we wanted to do, and we've been wanting to do that for a long time, and now we're finally doing it, is to develop something that can also be integrated into existing clinics. Because all over the world, there are so many existing clinics where they already have doctors who can perform this. And we wanted to do that in a way where the threshold for the training was not as high. And this is what we've done now. We built an automated machine learning based with the implementation of AI also system, where the main part of our assessments, not all of the assessment, not what goes deep into the roots of the problems, but the main assessments that assess the status of people's health, like how things are functioning, where we develop that now with a full automation. So that means anybody can learn, any doctor can learn in a couple of hours how to actually perform the assessments. So we use a lot of different technologies that are assessing at the same time. So this is already streamlined so that you just connect all the different electrodes and all the different probes on the body. And then the software will run through the assessment and test everything in parallel. Simple process. The difficult part is to have then thousands of jigsaw pieces and to put those together to see what picture it forms when you don't already know what picture you're putting together, which is the case when you evaluate health. And that is what really takes the most brilliant doctors and a lot of training, even for the most brilliant doctors, to learn how to do that. And this is what we now have taught computers how to do. So we've taken our most brilliant doctors, and I've also been part of developing this whole concept, and I've spent literally thousands of hours actually teaching this system now how to put the pieces of the jigsaw together. So what that means is that with just a few hours of training, any clinic can now implement our new assessment technology and be able to perform the assessment, to have all the pieces of the jigsaw information put together to create the main conclusions for what is important for people's health. and to have an automated report that explains the results and the conclusions of the results and with good visuals. And because we're not going detailed into what treatment plans to make, it means this can be incorporated into any clinic, whatever type of methodologies they will use for further assessments to dig deeper into what is not functioning right, or whatever type of treatments they're offering. Having that starting point of finding out what is it in the body that is not working right, and what is functioning well, like where is it we have to dig deeper, what is it we have to address. And this is what we can now have an overview of in a matter of 20 minutes with a full assessment, the report going through everything. It's a matter of 20 minutes. And I think this is really a game changer, because this will also allow any clinic out there to implement this as a starting point to find out what other assessments to do, what treatments to do, but also to track the progress, to see what results they're having, and to help people progress in the right direction with their health instead of keeping going the wrong direction, which is actually the case today. More than half the population in the Western world have one or more chronic illness, and it's actually getting worse. Every year is worse than the previous year. And this is the trend that we believe we can change with enough implementation of this into existing clinics. Already with that, we can change that trend, and we can see world health starting to turn to the right direction. And then, of course, when more is needed that is not yet available in other clinics, we have our specialized health optimizing clinics that can do more assessments and more treatments. But I think for the big picture, existing clinics will now have a better way of helping people turn things in the right direction. So that, I would say, is the biggest innovation, and it's what we've spent the most time on recently, while in parallel also we keep developing our technologies, we keep developing our clinics. What we are currently looking for is more partners around the world to build the specialized clinics, because we actually have a capacity issue. We don't have enough clinics. So we need, when this is implemented into other clinics, the demand will be even greater for the specialized clinics. So we need more partners around the world who can build that. What we also need is partners who can help us implement this new machine learned AI-based high-tech methodology for assessment. We call it the health status report, because that's what you get from it, a full health status report. But we now need partners to start testing that into conventional clinical settings in all types of clinics, whether it's a medical clinic or a complementary clinic or technology-based clinic or not. We want to now have some pilots with some conventional clinics starting to utilize this, to get the experience from that, see if we can tweak further, and then to start bringing this out to the world really large scale. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thomas Axness, founder of Health Optimizing. Thomas, you mentioned about places in the world where you're looking to grow. Where would you identify those? Which regions of the world are of highest interest?
It's the highest interest is where there are people with health problems who need better help than they currently have, which basically means we have a very global perspective. We need to bring this to the world, and for strategic reasons, there are certain European countries that are more of interest. In United States, we're about to start up now in Florida. From there, we want to expand to the rest of the country. Australia, we had a presence in Australia, but we want to build a new development in Australia because our partners there were not the right partners for us. So right now, we're not there at all. And it's any country where we don't currently have clinics, and you can see on our website, healthoptimizing.com, where the clinics are. So for the full clinics, our focus is to build clinics where we don't currently have clinics and where there is a lot of people who need help. For the health status report to be integrated into existing clinics, that's really something that should be implemented all over the world, I would say, even as a new standard for measuring the status of people's health, and then to be able to track the progress going forward.
Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for zooming in from Bergen, Norway, with 20 plus inches of snow outside in the middle of the night. We really appreciate it.
Thank
From
you. Thank you for having me.
our pleasure. So we've started in Egypt with the dean of this school, Dr. Sanjeev Kagram. We've moved on to Norway with Thomas Axness, and now we're going to sunny Southern California with Dr. Sarita Jackson. She's the president and CEO at Global Research Institute of International Trade. She's going to be talking about innovation around exporting. Sarita is on our advisory board for Global Chamber Los Angeles, and she's just an awesome resource for anyone doing exporting. Dr. Jackson, thank you for joining us today. What would you like to share on innovation?
Well, thank you so much, Doug, Global Chamber, and the Thunderbird School of Global Management at Arizona State University. What an honor to be here today. And so when it comes to export innovation, so Doug, when you invited me to give a talk, my remarks with regard to export innovation, and I thought about what is it that I really want to talk about today? It took me actually back to how I got started in this space. When I had just finished my doctorate at Brown University and was in Providence, Rhode Island. And instead of going straight into academia after getting my PhD, I went to work for a consulting firm in Arlington, Virginia. And it was with this consulting firm that I started talking, really observing on the ground this whole idea of the link between innovation and exports. I had the opportunity to travel all around the world, mainly throughout Latin America and the Caribbean and the Southern African region, and advise small businesses, small business associations, and relevant government entities on export competitiveness and linking that to innovation. And one of the things from those experiences, for example, speaking with a business owner who wanted to export her seafood products to the EU market, and she was based in the Caribbean region, or apparel producers based in Central America that wanted to access the US market and enjoy the preferential access, that it wasn't just about innovation leading to export competitiveness, but also being innovative in the way we think about innovation. And that is also understanding the policies, and I do come from a policy background, understanding some of the policies that allow for exports to compete. So when we're talking about innovation, it's what I want to propose today is not just focusing on innovation with regard to the product or service, which I will talk about, but also understanding innovation in the approaches and the models that help us to understand why exports are competitive, why different companies are able to compete in the global market. So that's one of the things that I want to talk about today. And this is really important for us as global business leaders to take a step back, look at what innovation, when we talk about these models and approaches, the policies that either help or hinder export competitiveness and the innovation around the way we develop these policies, and then also the firm practices and the strategies, and then the product and the service, that it is important for us to think about the larger, more inclusive framework when discussing innovation. And this also allows for, when we're putting together policies and practices, more impactful policies and practices that allow exporters to innovate and compete in the global market. So when we talk about the approaches, when I'm talking about approaches and models, without getting too technical, I'm talking about why certain exports are competitive in the global marketplace, because that's the whole point. When I'm working with producers, whether they are in the agricultural, manufacturing, or the services sector, the main question is, how do I export? I provide them with the research on identifying the right markets so that they can export, but not just export, but to do so competitively. And we talk about the innovation. So some of the models go as far back as the 18th century, just looking at countries and what countries need to do so that their exports can compete. And that starting as simply as just exporting those goods that they can produce much more efficiently, and importing the goods that they're not able to produce as efficiently so that it is a win-win for the producers in both countries that are trading with each other. Then we see a focus on the natural resources, land, labor, capital, that have an impact on exports being able to compete globally in innovation and thinking. Then moving to the 20th century, the latter part of the 20th century, we saw focus more so on firms and what they need to do in order to compete, their practices and their strategies. But it did not come without looking at the larger ecosystem, the government regulations. And the previous speaker kind of alluded to some of these different types of issues, the institutions, financial institutions that have an impact, the relationship between that exporter and the exporter's buyers and suppliers, all of these different things, research institutions that have an impact on an exporter that is being innovative, but can also help or hurt that exporter. Now, digital technology, quite naturally, that's what we're going to talk about for the 21st century. When we look at the product or service, there previously an emphasis on machines, certain types of equipment, automation, the internet, that have an impact on producers of goods or providers of services. So now it's about the digital technology, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, and what that means for exporters. So that's what I want to look at in terms of what I've seen and observed with regard to exports and the role of technology, the innovative technology in exports, and still bring this to the argument of looking at the larger inclusive framework of other factors that have an impact on an exporter's ability to compete, even when being innovative with improving or enhancing a product or a service. So just within the last few years, or let me start with agriculture, then I'll come to healthcare since the previous speaker talked about the healthcare industry, but just briefly with agriculture. With blockchain technology, when people really started talking about blockchain technology outside of cryptocurrency, I was invited to a number of discussions on how to introduce blockchain technology to the farming community. And blockchain technology allows the agricultural sector to really track the whole supply chain with goods. But according to a McKinsey study in 2020, the agricultural sector still remains the least digitized sector, and it proposes providing these digital tools and resources to this industry to boost productivity. But there's still a challenge with that because it's not about the technology itself. It's the access to the technology, which the dean alluded to. Having access to these technologies become very important. So we can talk about innovation all we want, but having access all around the world, equal access to these technologies, that's where some of the innovation in terms of the thinking to improve access becomes very, very important. With healthcare, we saw that with the global health pandemic caused by COVID-19. I wrote a piece about this that was published in the World Financial Review about the link between the digital technology and different provisions, different services that were provided at the time and what that meant in terms of cross-border trade. Because we heard a lot about, we're seeing a decline in trade, but that was mostly with regard to goods, but you did see an expansion of services. And Singapore is one of the countries that I highlighted in that piece as utilizing the digital technology, some of the platforms that come out of the United States in Singapore so that they can provide information in a very quick manner to prevent as much as possible, to understand the virus, to prevent, to contain, diagnose, and treat the coronavirus in 2020, that first year when it first hit. And by the end of 2020, we saw that as a result of this cross-border trade and Singapore's response, it was one of the countries that had the lowest rates of deaths. So that's in the healthcare sector. But again, I reiterate, when I look at this, it's not just, okay, we see the technology and here are the results. It's also looking at the larger atmosphere with because at sometimes you do have protectionist policies that may make it difficult in order to compete, even with the use of these innovative technologies. So France and the United States, when it came to telemedicine and digital technology, they eased some of the restrictions and the measures to allow for the flow of technology across borders and the provision of these services in the healthcare industry. And as I wrap up, just two more industries, and then I'm going to wrap up. The financial technology, that's another area where we see a lot of creativity. 2019, US, Mexico, and China were the leading adopters of fintech. But at the same time, during the pandemic, we saw where some economies actually started to have more restrictive measures so that financial services from outside financial services could not be provided in those economies, for example, the European Union and India. And then lastly, when it comes to telecommunications, in Africa, there's M-Pesa, which started in Kenya and has expanded to a number of other African countries. And this is very innovative because now it reaches a population that may not be able to access a traditional bank account. So now through telecommunications and mobile payments and mobile transfers, you can get this part of the population involved and engaged in the global economy. So I say all of that to say basically that when we're talking about innovation, and me coming from a policy background, even though I do research and advise small businesses and mid-sized companies, and part of that also includes the larger atmosphere of what's happening policy-wise that can have an impact on their ability to compete. And that's where the innovation and thinking comes in. So as I wrap up, this takes me back to a statement that I heard many, many years ago from someone, that when we're discussing any matter, without the honest feedback and really understanding the whole ecosystem when we're trying to provide solutions, it is like spoiled milk. It's no good. And that's what I want to leave you with when we talk about innovation. To not just look at the innovation when it comes to a product or a service, and we've seen where products and services have improved or enhanced so that they're easier to use. But we also it's futile to think about that in isolation from the institutions, the infrastructure that makes it possible for exporters, or to level the playing field for exporters from different economies, regardless of their level of development, so that they can also participate and compete in the global economy. And that's also innovation. Thank you.
A way to go. A round of applause. I think that's inspiring. Fantastic. You end up helping exporters on a day-to-day basis. What are your favorite regions and products and services?
Okay, so great. Thank you so much for that question. So as far as regions, definitely the Sub-Saharan African region and Latin America and the Caribbean. So pretty much what I was describing here. As far as the services, the financial services is very, very exciting. Ag tech, well, that's a combination. Here we go with the innovation. That in recent years, I've done a lot with ag tech, and that is very fascinating because of my passion around issues of food security or food insecurity, and looking at the link between agriculture and technology to address the issues along the supply chain, making sure that food stays fresh, that the farmers are able to get their food to internationally, to export to whatever market that they're looking to export to. So the ag tech is very, very interesting because I've also learned a lot, including the technological side to agriculture export.
Global and unstoppable, Dr. Sarita Jackson. Thank you very much. Let's now move on to Landon Pitcher. He's the co-founder at Listo Global. He's going to be talking about getting ready for global innovation. People, it starts with people. Let us know, Landon. Thank you.
All right. Can you hear me? I guess I do need to pull this up close, don't I? I'm glad for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Doug, and thanks for those of you that have presented before me. It's really fun to hear what other what other people from the Global Chamber are working on, what businesses are out there. It's absolutely incredible. I am a Thunderbird alum from 2013, and it's great to be back here on campus. This isn't where I was when I was a student, but it's just incredible to feel the Thunderbird vibe, to interact with students from all over the world, and this place is very special to me. When I think of innovation, one of the quotes that we've all heard is the mother of, isn't it necessity is the mother of invention? And maybe you could substitute invention for innovation. One story that I like to tell of my Thunderbird days was we had class in Phoenix for the first trimester, and then I was going to study abroad in Czechia, in Prague. And I was married, still am married, but I was a young married student with no money, and so necessity drove me to make a Google search that was kind of weird, but I think I was searching like alternative mode of transportation to get from US to Europe. Can you take a boat to Europe? Like something like that. And all of a sudden I started seeing these cruises, like Royal Caribbean and Carnival cruises, luxury cruises for $400, $500 that just happened to be like in that little window from between classes in Phoenix and classes in Prague. So a good friend of mine we became friends. He and his wife, we did a double date for 2 weeks and sailed across the ocean as Thunderbird students that are broke as goats and had no money. But it was like actually one of the peaks of my life. It was amazing. We went on to study in Prague and then studied in Beijing, and I ended up doing one of the Thunderbird consulting projects in Angola for the ExxonMobil Foundation, which then led to me ultimately working for ExxonMobil, doing global outsourcing. And the business would come and say, we need to hire 100 accounting professionals. Which country makes the most sense economically, from time zone standpoint? Where should we hire these individuals? And that was my role as the analyst to help make that happen. So it was a lot of fun. I love that experience and where Thunderbird has sent me. From that role, I decided I didn't want to be an accountant anymore, so I claimed to be a recovering accountant. I moved my way into a sales role where I was selling technology training software, and I covered Eastern Europe, which was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of neat CTOs and companies doing really neat, innovative things from Germany through Russia. So it was a very, very exciting time in my career. And the head of international at that company left to a global expansion firm, a consultancy firm. And he said, Landon, with your passion for global, this could be something that you'd really like. And so I went and I joined that company. And 2 people in this audience later ended up working with me at that company, 2 people who I love fondly. One of them is now working with me, and the 2 co-founders of Listo were also at that firm. And I was kind of pulling on their arms for years, like, let's do this on our own. We could do this and lead with technology and automation, but also a true ethos of caring for our customers. And so we've started Listo about 18 months ago. It's a young company, young technology, but doing great things. I think that there's maybe 2 brags that I'll share about my company, and then I'll shut up about pitching how great Listo is. The first one is that we've got around 110 clients, and I just found out today, this just a little damper, but as about a week ago, I would have been able to say we've not lost a client due to our delivery. We just really care for our clients and their people, and do what we can to take care of them. The second brag I'll go into in a minute, but I'll explain what we do and how we enable innovation. Listo makes it easy to find, hire, and pay your global team anywhere in the world. Our software solution does the hiring and the pay. So a business leader can go in, create an account at listoglobal.com. They can connect their bank account. They can put in the information, email address, and name and pay rate of someone that they want to hire and pay anywhere in the world. Sends them a contract for e-signature. They sign it. That individual then puts in their personal bank account information, and now the company is able to pay them through our platform. It sounds simple, and it is, and it should be. But paying people in a different part of the world actually is not simple. It was like, I have a MBA from Thunderbird. How do I hire someone in Mexico? It's like, how do I pay them compliantly? It's a really difficult thing. And so our company, one of our differentiators is that we've done this for 5 to 10 years. We've consulted companies on where to hire, how to hire, what positions to consider for outsourcing. And when they're ready to do that, again, our software is there to make it easy to do it. And if they would like us to help recruit, we can present candidates to them in that way as well. So it's amazing what we get to do. It's about as Thunderbird-esque as a company can get in our business, and we love it. I have to pinch myself every once in a while that if I could create my dream job. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have known that this is it, but it is it, and I really just love what we get to do. What makes it a little bit better is the second brag. And I'll back up just a little bit. Our CEO, my co-founder, Freddie Ashby, who I believe, and I say this all the time, he's the best person to lead a company in our industry. He's Simon Sinek type of leader. He's fantastic, and he brings with him a lot of experience and an incredible network. But if you asked him, when we're talking to investors, for example, what is Listo? He says, we don't really care if we're selling pencils or yarn or you name it. We just want to build a special company. And our purpose is to lift others everywhere. That's our purpose at Listo. Our mission is to do that, as I said, by making it easy for companies to find, hire, and pay. And we also have a Do Good initiative to give back through education, STEM initiatives, and things like that to help upskill in foreign markets where we're hiring people. But I want to tell another quick story of our all hands. So Freddie's said this to investors all along, and I don't know how often he says it to our company, that we want to build a special company. Well, at our all hands, we finally had sales and tech and CX and everybody on the same call, and we ended up having 10 spare minutes left, which seems to never happen. But Freddie said, does anyone have anything to add, anything that you want to say to the company or ask? And one gal in the UK, it was so beautiful. She said, I have so much to say, but I just want to say thank you. And it was so perfect. It was like, wow. And then my great guy, Josh, in South Africa, he said to the technology team, I haven't interacted with you much. You're mainly in Canada. I'm in South Africa. I'm in sales. You're building the product, but it's great to meet you. And if you haven't noticed yet, I just wanted to let you know that you work for a very, very special company. And when I heard that word special, it was like, whoa, did he know that? No, I actually had to turn my camera off so I didn't ugly cry in front of the whole company, but it was just a really neat moment. So the thing that we're doing to enable innovation is by enabling innovators to work and collaborate with others around the world without the issues and the problems that borders can create. I did an internship while at Thunderbird also. I keep referring back to how many different ways it's changed my life, but I worked for Cisco Systems in 2012, and they talked about the Internet of Things and how much digital revolution is coming and how that's going to just disrupt everything. And Cisco Systems is going to provide the plumbing, the infrastructure for this incredible digital revolution. And they would say, like, pretty soon everybody's going to be like loading videos up into the internet like crazy. Like, you can't even imagine. And in 2012, it was like, really? Will we be videoing everything we do and like posting it? Yeah, actually we do. And we're videoing and streaming this right now, and people are watching it. So Cisco Systems was right. And we believe that Listo is the Cisco Systems. We're providing the infrastructure and the plumbing for global employment, to enable any of you to hire anywhere in the world, and what that does for people. So if necessity is the mother of innovation, it's incredible what people are able to do when they're not working out of necessity anymore. If I was going to show some information on the Economist's Global Index, Global Innovation Index. The United States, it used to be that US was the innovator and all the other countries, you'd hire to do task work or transactional things, but US is number 4 now. There's other countries. There's a long list of countries that are doing very innovative things, and we're so grateful to be able to support that growth, support other innovators who are creative, who are problem solvers, and who are doing great things. And again, we're just happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Landon. Could you, just one quick question. Who do you help the most? At least though Global, since you've been involved, what kind of companies really get impacted by the innovation that you bring to global business?
We support, it's hard to pinpoint actually. We're industry agnostic, we're company size agnostic. We have some really big companies that use us, and we have some really small startups that are hiring their 3rd co-founder in Portugal, for example. We do support a lot of other staffing, virtual admin companies, call centers, and tech dev shops that we partner with and make their lives easier. And it's worth mentioning that we were recently awarded the request for proposal from the Arizona Board of Regents. So University of Arizona and the Arizona schools are now have a green light to use Listo to hire their people as well. So thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
There's a question over here.
Ghazal has a question. Well, then
Thank you, Ghazal.
that requires me to walk across the room.
Thank you. Thank you, London. I'm so proud of you and just
Thank you.
this is such a great example of innovation. So I and we all at Thunderbird have been trying to encourage the business owners in the Valley to actually looking into hiring more international students, how we have 75% international students here at Thunderbird. And well, fair enough, because of the lengthy process, the encouragement is not kind of going as fast as we would love it to go. I was wondering if there is anything Listo can do to support and help these companies start hiring international students without the usual concerns the companies have when it comes to hiring internationals. Thank you.
Yeah, what you're asking us to do is what we're trying to do every single day, actually. I just finished an info session with the Thunderbird student body. Everyone was invited, but with a special request to any of the international students. We have created a simple web form landing page where a Thunderbird international student can help make it easier for us to reach out to companies that they would like to work for. So if you know of an international student or an international worker who wants to work for a US company, feel free to send them my way. And we have this, like I said, it's kind of a lead flow engine that they help us know who to contact, and we'll contact them to ease their minds on the challenges of hiring global. If they know that they have a partner who can handle all the complexities, all the challenges, that person's just going to work for them just like they would. If you're going to hire someone in San Jose, California, you can do it the same in San Jose, Costa Rica, and we make it feel as much like that as possible. So any introductions that you'd like to make, we welcome them. They could benefit us and then also benefit all the job seekers as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Landon. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody online from zooming in from all over the world, and also want to say we've got about 40 minutes left, and then after the 40 minutes, we'll have a session down at the Global Chamber office right after, live and in person. Sorry, no Zoom portion for that. Our next speaker is Dr. Velma Traham. She's the CEO of ThinkZilla. She is an acclaimed author, world-renowned speaker, award-winning business growth strategist, and she epitomizes one of the most important things about business, and that is many people think, hey, how do I become innovative? And they try all sorts of things. And sometimes it's just the mix of people. Having a diverse workforce, those of you who have worked in non-diverse groups recognize it's just not as innovative and not as fun either. So thank you, Dr. Velma Tram, for all the work. We look forward to hearing about innovation from your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, and hello, everyone. I am excited, and I'm always honored to be a part of the Global Chamber. I will start with this. One of my taglines, it's we have to innovate at the speed of relevance. And all of my colleagues always say, Dr. Velma, you need to, what is it? I can't even think about it right now. You need to really copyright that. You need to make sure, because we're going to steal it. And I always tell them, it's okay to steal it as long as you give me credit. So let me get right into it. I was actually recruited to Arizona 3 years ago. I have offices, our newest office is in Ontario, Canada, and we're in Atlanta, Miami, Houston, and Scottsdale, Arizona. And what ThinkZilla does, we solve a very complex problem in terms of innovation. When you think about in minority businesses and really supporting underserved communities, that is innovation. We talk a lot about equal access. Equal access and equality is innovation. We build community engagement programs across the country. We work with government agencies and we work with corporations, helping to build pipelines for underserved communities. So when you think about supply chain and when you think about supplier diversity and how organizations have a set aside to work with minority-owned companies, oftentimes they're not reaching those corporate social responsibility goals. And the first thing I hear is, oh, we don't know where to find them. Or they're not quite ready to do business with us. And so what we do is we prepare them. And so through our national impact programs, which are oftentimes multi-year programs, we develop them through technical assistance programs, access to capital programs, so that when they are ready to do business with corporations and government entities, then they will have a pipeline. Oftentimes, people are not engaging these groups, but I do want to share a couple of statistics with you today. Small businesses are the backbone of the U.S. economy, creating jobs and opportunities in local communities. Investing in minority-owned businesses will unlock and is currently unlocking millions of jobs and trillions of dollars to our economy. I would like to give a really quick example. When I was recruited here in 2020 by GPEC, Greater Phoenix Economic Council, they recruited me here to work with the state in moving minority businesses forward. They said one of the problems that we have is we have this large population of small and diverse businesses, but they don't necessarily have access. They don't have access to mentorship. They don't have access. It was very interesting to hear Mr. Landon speak about how their company is special and how they thrive and purpose and all of that. And I think that when you think about innovation and global innovation, it's really moving the backbone of our small business economy forward. I'm sorry, I just said that I was going to mention a statistic here. And many people are unaware of the outsized role that small businesses play in our economy. I don't know if you knew this, but I want to share this statistic with you. 99.9% of U.S. businesses are small businesses. They are the fastest group that are creating job opportunities. And so with that, we are intentional about scaling minority-owned businesses. We celebrated 35 minority businesses on Tuesday at Atlanta Public Service headquarters down where this is downtown, right? I've only been here 3 years. I'm still trying to figure things out. So we celebrated these businesses, and a few of them were able to scale their business from being a solopreneur to now having 10 employees because of contracting opportunities. There were several different testimonials. One young lady shared that she had secured a contract with the NFL for $2 million, which means that she was able to create job opportunities here in Arizona to scale her business. And so that's what we do. And when you think about, there's a lot of messaging going around about diversity, equity, and inclusion and the, affirmative action ruling and all of that. And so what I would say to you today is this: diversity is simply just doing the right thing. Right? I think that we don't have to put so much emphasis on the words, but when you actually just do the right thing, then diversity becomes the result of doing the right thing. And when you think about innovation, it is supporting our underserved communities. It is giving back. It is creating the economic opportunity to advance our small business owners through access to technical assistance, access to mentorship. And so we partner and we build national impact programs that support underserved communities. And I have so many notes here. And so I'll end with this: supporting small businesses through contracting promotes job creation and obviously opportunities in and across the nation and also global. And you all may know about the $125 million in funding that the White House announced last year to support this population. And by the way, I was honored by the White House last year for the work that we are doing national. And so I am excited and honored to continue the work in moving our communities forward through innovation and supporting underserved communities by not just saying words, not just checking boxes, but actually doing the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Velma Traham, you are from Houston. You work in Atlanta and not only in Phoenix, but in other cities around the U.S. and the world. Could you tell us a little bit about how maybe Phoenix compares to what you've seen in some of these other places, plus and minus?
Yeah, absolutely. So Arizona as a whole is a little bit behind. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I believe that innovation is also about creativity and having a fresh set of eyes on things. Sometimes in order to solve problems, you really need to hone in on what the opportunities are and then understanding what the threats are. And so I believe that Arizona is, we're taking strides and moving forward. People are open and people are actively engaged, and we're actively moving the needle here in Arizona. But we are a bit behind, but I'm hopeful that things will continue to move forward.
Thank you for your leadership. Thank you. Thank you for today. We're going to bridge that topic on talent with a very talented leader next as well, Chris Yap. He's the CEO of GabTech. He's going to be speaking about reaching talent for the next wave of innovation. Chris Yap.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be here and share some insights about global talent utilization. Landon kind of started that for me, so I appreciate that. Our company GapTech Global, what we do is we are a staff augmentation company. We're based here in Arizona, but all our staff are 100% in the Philippines. Outsourcing has been around for a long time, at least 4 decades, right? But if you look at the problem we have in the US today, there is 8.8 million job openings as of yesterday. And out of that 8.8 million job openings, there is 1.6 million that can be done overseas. So I'm sure Landon would know that. It's a great number. Outsourcing, at least in the Philippines, it started in 1992. It was actually started by Accenture. But fast forward to 2010, Philippines became the outsourcing capital of the world. In fact, in 2005, the company I was working for over there sent me to the US to actively promote the Philippines as the outsourcing capital. And in doing that, I was part of the team that brought Dell to the Philippines. Dell has thousands of employees now. JP Morgan was one of the first few banks who did that. Citibank was the first bank who actually outsourced in the Philippines. So having access to global talents, it used to be almost exclusive just for the big boys, Fortune 1000s of the world, right? But in the last few years, the demand for global talent has significantly increased. And, companies like LinkedIn, Upwork, Fiverr, they made that possible. But the problem with that, and this is the problem we're trying to solve, is there are companies that needs hand-holding, project management, especially when they're building teams. When you're hiring someone from the Philippines, even though the Philippines was colonized by the US for a while, there is still that cultural gap. And that's the innovation that companies like mine try to address to ensure that the cultural transition is as smooth as possible. Because obviously, when clients here in the US are hiring talents, they vet as far as their technical and non-technical skills. But it's the cultural aspect that's kind of hard to gauge. And having a project management team that so-called, co-parent your team overseas, it makes it easier. And, I'll give an example. I have a client, Greg, in Virginia. He's got a managed IT company. When I met him, he was struggling to get local talents. He was saying it would take 3-6 months to hire local talents. And the issue was, people weren't showing up in job interviews, or if they do, they would ask for too much money. So what we did for him was we placed initially 2 tech supports in 30 days. And what that did for him and for his business was he was able to grow faster because he was able to service more clients faster. He was able to save on his payroll cost by as much as 50%, which in turn he was able to give higher bonuses to the people here in the US. And the thing is, the business owners here are not just the ones benefiting from it. The people that are hired overseas, and Landon would see this, these people are paid more than twice, thrice the average income of where they are. In the Philippines, the average income is $300 per month. That's average income. Minimum wage is $200. The guys I hire, when I connect them with US clients, I have people making as much as 15 times of that average income, while still allowing US companies to save as much as 50% on labor costs. So the likes of Greg benefit from it. The people in Philippines, India, Ukraine, Romania, wherever, they benefit from it. But I also benefit from it. This is my source of living. I have 3 boys, and my eldest is a mechanical engineering student at ASU. He is also a reservist at the US Marine Corps. Well, that means I'm still paying for his tuition fee, which is not cheap. But the ultimate beneficiary of having access to the global talent is really America. Because, like Dr. Vernal said earlier, 99.9% of 99.9% of businesses are small businesses, which is the backbone of the US economy. And these are the people who are actually in need for labor faster and that is more affordable. And that is the community that we are really trying to serve. So I think the demand for global talent utilization, it's here to stay. It's just going to continue to grow, and I think it's important for everyone to embrace it. And really, as entrepreneurs continue to innovate, expand, and grow, companies like us will also continue to innovate to ensure that we are finding the right talent and enough talent to support the growth of the US economy. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Chris. Quick question. So considering, I guess, two things that maybe have impacted your business and helped maybe people think about what you offer. One was COVID and being able to have someone on the team from anywhere that may not be in their office. And another might be business growth. Right now, the record unemployment in the US. How have both of those impacted your business?
It has definitely impacted my business positively. In fact, we grew 15x in 5 years. In fact, coming here, when I parked, I saw an email. We actually just made it to the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies for 2024. So thank you. Which I think is a testament again to what I was saying, that the demand for global talent is just going to continue to rise, because we grew without really spending much on ads. We grew through client referral. We just started spending on ads really just last year, but we still grew almost 100% every year. So pandemic, it definitely impacted our business positively.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership. Appreciate it. We've got two more live speakers, and the next one is James Peacock. He's the founder and CEO of SKU Distribution. His presentation is Accurate and Advanced 3PL Foreign Trade Zone, right here in Arizona. James has been a leader for quite a number of years in the logistics and transportation industry, getting product in and out of Arizona. Thank you for that. We look forward to hearing more.
Great. Thanks, Doug. Is this close enough? Make sure you guys can hear me.
Perfect.
Doug, hey, thank you for the invitation to speak at the Global Chamber. It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to hear the other speakers and the innovation that you guys have done, which is very impressive. So thank you guys for that. My name is James Peacock. I'm the founder and CEO of SKU Distribution. Most people ask, what do we do? I think the easiest way to explain what we do is that we're a mini Amazon. And so we do warehousing and fulfillment. We're non-asset-based 3PL. So we warehouse customers' goods. We integrate with their back-end marketplaces, Shopify or whatever. And as a consumer buys those products, we get those orders, we ship them, we pack them out. Or we pack them out and then we ship them. But a little bit of background on SKU. It's not what I've done from the beginning. I actually came from an international shipping background. I had a company prior to this that we were a global sales partner for DHL Express. That business grew when we were the first to market on Shopify with an international checkout for U.S.-based merchants that were selling to overseas consumers. And that business grew. We're starting to see this trend of our top shipping clients that were domestic. They were moving away from us. We're thinking, what happened? And we would call them up and say, did we do something wrong? And the fact was they were all just moving to fulfillment companies. So in 2016, sold that business successfully and then started SKU distribution. But we are in the process as far as the innovation piece. We are going to be the first and only 3PL that has a foreign trade zone in the state. I think there's only one in California currently. I think there's less than a dozen in the country. I'll kind of go into that a little bit more here in a minute, but a little bit history on the company. We are 2 years running on the Inc. 5000. We have gotten there through the culture of our company. Doing warehousing is not, we're not building rockets. There's nothing really sexy about warehousing, but we take great pride in the culture that we have at the company. We got there through our staff. We treat our staff with respect, and I think that's the biggest accomplishment from a company perspective that we worked so hard to do, and it took probably 3 years to kind of get to that point of a culture that is more like a family-run business where everyone feels like they're a part. And so that was quite an accomplishment as the business owner. But when we decided to go and become the foreign trade zone, we started seeing the market start to soften. So if you remember back in COVID, we had that major supply chain issue where we were backed up for almost a year. That was a very good time for us. We had warehouse space. People wanted to fill it because they didn't have room in their own warehouses. But in the last year, as that has softened, we've seen that there's been less demand and there's more supply, so there's more warehouse space that's out there. And so we wanted to separate ourselves from the rest of the pack and apply for a foreign trade zone status. Some of the clients that we work with would be like Lucid Motors, Johnson Control, Tuft & Needle to name a couple. REI was the company that we have done business with. But the reason for the foreign trade zone, if you don't understand what that is, they call it an FTZ. So give an example, Lucid Motors, we were warehousing about 5,000 pallets of their lithium-ion battery cells. I think we at one point had about $300 million worth of battery cells in the warehouse. And we were warehousing them for a little over a year. So when those batteries came across the border, there was a 17% duty and tax on that $300 million. And what the FTZ does is that allows that would allow them to bring in their batteries and defer that duty and tax until those batteries were ready to be produced. So when they left the zone or left our warehouse, that's when they'd pay that duty and tax. And so from an advantage perspective, any business, any size business, could we work from Fortune 500s, some big blue chip companies down to kind of small mom and pops. But from a cash flow for the business owners in here, I think we all understand what cash flow means and how important it is. And so one of the big things that's probably one of the biggest selling points from a foreign trade zone, from an FTZ. The other would be what's called a merchant processing fee or an MPF. So an MPF on any import that you bring in, there's a fee it's just a processing fee. So for an example, we're talking to an electric bike company. They import about 1,800 containers annually. So that minimum duty or that minimum processing fee is about $1.1 million. So if you take this I think it's like $614.34, and you times that by 1,800, I think it's just under 1.1 million. The benefit of having FTZ is that takes that 1,800 down to 52 because the processing fee is once a week. So you process all your imports one time a week, and so you have 52 weeks of the year that you're just paying that processing fee. So for them, I think it was close to almost a $600,000 savings annually just on that processing fee. Some other advantages for an FTZ is that you get to, because they come in duty free. Well, I guess they come in and defer the dues and taxes. If there was an issue with those or there was a kind of a problem with what came in, you can re-export that back out of the country because the way the government looks at it is that it never entered the country. So that's it's a big advantage of it, and there's indefinite storage. So if in an FTZ, so there's a lot of advantages to it. So there's not just fulfillment and storage, but there's also cash flow benefits and some savings on some just basic processing fees. So, but I think that's all I got.
That's a lot. James, what do you expect the impact to be in the region because of this?
It's funny. We're talking to several companies right now, and some fairly large ones and some other small ones. Because there's not one in the state of Arizona. The one that's in California, I don't believe is even active. The goal for us here was to create something in Arizona that would benefit anywhere from the TSMCs down to your small mom and pops that are internationally shipping into the country. And so I think it's going to be a big impact. Actually, what's funny is that we met for 2 hours with the Customs Border Patrol today and Officer West. We kind of it was a long meeting, but his comments were, he said, you're the only one that will be in Arizona. He goes, I don't even think the one that's in California is even active. He says, but this is going to be a huge opportunity for you and for Arizona. So,
Congratulations. Thank you for sharing today.
thank you.
James Peacock, back-to-back Inc. 5000 companies. And so our last speaker, and then we're going to finish on time, and then I'll explain what happens next. You're in for a treat. And thank you for everybody on Zoom for hanging on, because our next and last speaker is Susan Lindner. She's the CEO at Innovation Storytellers. Her conversation today is about global innovation storytelling. You will not meet a deeper, more knowledgeable expert on storytelling than Susan, so we're in for a treat. Susan, thank you for sharing today.
Hey everyone, greetings from New York City. It's great to see everybody, and thank you, Doug and the Chamber, for hosting this fantastic event. My desire in sharing with you in the world of innovation is how to tell a great story about your innovation. So I'm going to start with a story of my own, and I'll share this with you. My desire for this time together is to think about how you're going to leave this event today, how you'll think about conjuring up not only the innovations that you're working on, but the way that you communicate them so that they really stick with your audiences. So let's dive in. I want to tell you about an organization that I work with called Corning Glass. I went to see them and I talked to a group of fractographers there. These are the folks who study how glass breaks. And when I asked them what they were going to be presenting to the CEO, they told me that they had devised an entirely new kind of glass, a new windshield, actually. And I said, great, show me the PowerPoint deck. And this was the one of 2 slides. If you don't know what this is by looking at it, this is an electron model of sand. And this is the way they were going to begin to talk about their brand new innovation to the CEO, who, by the way, has a PhD in chemistry, but needless to say, running a multi-million-dollar company probably doesn't include thinking about electron models of sand. Well, in the middle of our discussion, one of the fractographers had a baby, Emily. Emily's sister in Ohio had a baby. And we were oohing and eyeing as Emily passed around the phone of her brand new niece. And sure enough, the conversation shifted back to the conversation about protons, electrons, and neutrons. I could feel my eyeballs rolling to the back of my head as I thought about, gosh, I feel so bad for the CEO who has to listen to this. And I said to the folks in the room, I said, can you imagine what it's like for this tiny little baby right now? Can you imagine how small that little pancreas is and how hard it's working? All of those tiny little blood vessels trying to bring blood from one end of its body to another, and all the neurons that are firing right now. And they kind of looked at me as if that's any way to describe a baby. And then they looked back at their electron model and said, we're getting a little too granular, aren't we? And I said, yeah, and that is the worst sand joke that I have ever heard. But what I want to ask all of you is, are you getting too granular or way too general about when you're describing your innovation? So I've done the homework and I've done the research for you. I've been doing innovation storytelling for the last 25 years. And I want to share with you a couple of eternal rules of innovation storytelling. When you really want to get people on board with a breakthrough idea, start off by talking about your shared history. Great innovation usually has a phenomenal past. So let's talk about where we came from, where this idea came from, where the history of this company has come from, and the innovation that it's ridden on so far. So we talk about our history, we talk about our shared values and purpose, but for innovators, chances are you're asking your audience to bring on new values as well. So, what are the new values you're bringing to the table, and what is your new purpose with the innovation you're bringing on board? Next up is your message. So, how will you communicate this idea? We really want to think about phrases that are memorable and that inspire other people. So, when you're inventing something new, make sure you have a message to wrap around it that's strong and powerful. This is probably the hardest part of innovation storytelling, is getting the message right. You do that by tapping into the pain and the gain that the audience has to incur in order to say yes to your big idea. So what do people lose by getting your new innovation, and what do people gain? Next up is your early adopters. Who else is on the team is going to stand next to you and say yes? If you think about even the prophets, right? Even Jesus couldn't do it alone. He had 12 helper friends, the apostles, to help spread the word. The greatest storytellers of all time have other people helping to spread the story. And lastly, it's viral language. So using seventh grade grammar rules like simile, metaphor, alliteration, and rhyme, they really help you concentrate a story idea quickly. And it makes it possible for people to share your story once the meeting is over. So I want to give you a couple of points on why great innovation storytelling works. First off, always think about the goodwill you're bringing to the room. A goodwill story literally lights up the brain. It changes how we think about the story. What I mean by goodwill is, how am I making somebody else's life better with my new innovation? How am I changing their life? Surprisingly, as innovators, we want to think it's all about our product, our solution, but really, it's about how we're making someone else's life better. And if you're the top of the innovation pyramid, it's about transformation. So a goodwill story starts with thinking about the other person, the user, not you. And why goodwill works? We know goodwill stories are more effective than any other kind because it literally lights up the brain. It does this thing on number 3 called caregiving related activity. What does that mean? That is the modern day Yelp review. It's like, eat this mushroom, don't eat this mushroom, it'll kill you. And this other kind of mushroom, well, that's a story for another day. But a goodwill story works like a Yelp review works. It's when we have the big heart that allows us to share information. Eat at this restaurant, don't eat this at this restaurant. Try this next time. We believe that it's more powerful when it comes from other people telling our story for us with the best intentions in mind. And most importantly, we know it's powerful. Among millennials, the biggest group in our workforce right now, we know that hearing a great story, especially one that is shared among users or is shared among other employees, is more powerful than when the company says it itself. So we know that user-generated content is more influential on purchases, it's more memorable, and it's more trusted. So I want to share these points with you today on how to tell a great innovation story so you can go back to your desks, back to your offices, and keep those 5 essential steps in mind. And Doug, I know we're on time and I want to be respectful of your audience there out in Arizona, and just leave it right there for everyone. Are you there, Doug? Yeah.
How about here? Oh, my mic fell off. Well, the battery died. So that was unfortunate timing. We had almost made it. But thank you very
Almost.
much. What are kind of last tips for entrepreneurs in terms of as they're building their story? I love the concept of telling stories in simple ways so that others bring it forward. Are there certain things that we should be thinking about to facilitate that process?
If you're an entrepreneur and you're not working on your storytelling, you're going to have issues with funding, attracting new employees, and getting that first prototype or MVP to market in a way that makes people embrace it. So I'll leave this here for you to make sure that people get the 5 steps. And that's a whole workbook where you can work on that as an entrepreneur. That's just a little gift for everyone in the audience. But what I'll say about entrepreneurs in particular, the story that you want to get, and there are 4 core stories that every entrepreneur should nail. Number 1 is the founder story. Make me believe that why you're building this product is really at your heart, because it's actually emotion that drives all of us to get on board with you, and your why. Why did you start this company to begin with? So the founder story, including all the obstacles that it took to get to your landing point, your finish line, is really critical. Every entrepreneur also needs a value story. Tell me why this product is better than anything else out there and what it will do for me, the goodwill story. We need the story of the innovation itself. I actually want to know the product and why it matters. And your last one is your vision. Tell me where you're going, because chances are I don't want to get into this car and buy this product unless I have faith in your future and that you'll be around. So make sure you include a story about your vision so we can follow you and you can start a movement rather than just a market.
Very good. Thank you very much. Susan Linder, last round of applause for all the speakers. Thank you, everybody online. For you, the next step is watch LinkedIn. We'll have some pictures. We'll have a presentation on global innovation by Srijit from Aditya Birla. That is going a little bit long, so it would carry us over too far today. So watch for that on LinkedIn in the next few hours. And then for those of you here, let's walk down the hall to Global Chamber. Hopefully you've got a few minutes to meet each other and connect. Thanks everybody for coming.